I quit all social media in early 2021. Not a detox, not a break, not a, hey, we'll just see how this goes. Nope, I deleted every single personal, professional, business, and ads account permanently. No backup plan. No, we'll revisit this in 30 days. Nope, I nuclear destructed, deleted all of the social medias. And here's what happened next. 7 lessons that completely changed my business and my life. I can't wait to tell you what they are. Number 1, I went all in. Like I said, there was no backup plan here. I didn't let's just deactivate these for a minute and then come back to it. This was not an experiment. This was a full body, total commitment. I'm done with social media. Here's why that had happened. In 2020, you might remember, it was kind of a weird year. I was seeing my holistic health colleagues that were getting censored left and right on social media. And I was seeing them say things that made a lot of sense to me, but were outside of the community standards and whatnot, and they were losing their platforms. Like overnight, their accounts were just getting shut down. This was happening to a lot of people. Or they were getting shadow banned, meaning nobody was seeing their content, but they were none the wiser, still creating content, but nobody was seeing it because they had been, coloring outside the lines. It was making me very, very upset. So I was already had this boil that was happening inside of me. I didn't like what was happening on social media in 2020. Regardless, I didn't like the controversy. It just felt like a really negative place. So I was already distancing myself a little bit. But then when I started to see people and colleagues specifically that were losing their audiences and losing their accounts, I was mad. Then I got really mad in late 2020 when my Facebook ads account, Meta, Facebook and Instagram, when my ads account got shut down. Literally overnight, my ads account got shut down. And there was no coming back from that. So I was super mad, and I was already had an axe to grind, and I was like, ugh. But then my ads account got shut down. And I want to say that at that moment, I said, nope, that's it. I'm done with all social media, but it wasn't. I appealed that decision, and I tried to get my ads account turned back on. By the way, it got deactivated the day after I started running a new ad about how to grow your business without relying on social media. And then my ads account was gone the next day. It was just the craziest thing. So I was perturbed, to say the least. But I did try to appeal that decision, and so I tried to get my ads account turned back on. Took a couple months. There was no doing it. They weren't going to play ball. And so then I decided, nope, that is enough. This is the time, and I deleted all my social media, personal, professional, ads accounts, all of it, done. Okay, so that was in early 2021. And my big lesson there is that when I decide something and I know that it's the right decision, I may as well just go all in at the very beginning, because I know myself, know thyself, enough to know that I will go all in. So I may as well just go. That clarity that I'm burning all the boats, there's no retreat here, this is the direction I'm going. I think that serves me really well in most areas. So my lesson there is clarity creates results. Just go all in. And I went all in, believe me, in early 2021 when I deleted all of the platforms. Facebook, personal and professional. Instagram, personal and professional. LinkedIn. What else was there even? I'm not sure, but a random Twitter that I never used. It was all gone, all the social medias. So lesson 1, go all in. Lesson number 2 is that posting isn't free and social media isn't free. Costs a lot more than we realize. So what the heck do I mean by that? Well, here's what I realized. When I no longer had any social media in my life, but specifically for my business, when I no longer had any posting to be done, marketing, engaging, any of that, I had a lot more time that opened up on my work calendar, which was amazing to me because I didn't realize how much time I was spending on social media up until that point. I was very inconsistent. I wasn't one of those people that was washing their hair every day and doing stories, and I wasn't. I had best of intentions of doing that, but I didn't actually do it. However, I was looping on it a lot. It was occupying a lot of my bandwidth in my brain on my weekly work calendar to be like, oh, you really should be creating some content. You really should be posting something. Oh my gosh, it's been a week since you posted anything. You really need to get back into that. So this was constantly playing in the back of my mind about what I should be doing. It was taking up a lot of my brain space. I didn't realize that until I no longer had that temptation. I no longer had that on my agenda ever. And I realized, holy cow, that was dragging me down a lot. So I suddenly had at least 10 hours back in my work week. which was amazing. And again, I would have told you that there was no way I was spending 10 hours on social media up until that point, or thinking about social media, or taking courses about growing on social media. But all of that suddenly was off the table, and I had 10 hours extra on my calendar. So what I did is I doubled down on things that got better results for my clients. I really poured into my clients, and I was like, okay, I have this time. How can I make the process more convenient for them? How can I make it faster for them? How can I make it simpler for them? How can I explain this in a way that I've never explained it before? And because I wasn't consuming social media myself, I was able to create so much more, because I don't think we can consume and create at the same time. Like, those two things are opposites. And when we're constantly taking in from everybody else and everyone else's opinions and everyone else's ideas, it stifles our ability to make our own ideas and to think about what do we think and how do we want to be creative and, bring to the surface the gifts that I think that God gives us. So at this point, I realized, oh, okay, I have 10 extra hours at least per week. I'm spending those 10 extra hours being a lot more intentional about what's getting my clients better results. I'm having all of the ideas to have better marketing and to explain things in a different way and have different messaging and different types of conversations. And I felt like my creativity just exploded. And the big lesson there is that social media isn't free. We think as business owners that we should be leveraging these free platforms to market our business, but it is not free. It is only free if you don't value your time. And I hope that you do, because we can always make more money. We can't make more time. So social media isn't free. The cost is considerable in bandwidth, energy, creativity, I think huge. So I realized that very quickly when I suddenly had these 10 hours back on my work week. And holy cow, did I feel like the most prolific creator at that point, because I just didn't have any distractions anymore. Which brings me to the third lesson that I learned. And we're going to get back to creating and more of that in a second. But third lesson that I learned when I deleted all social media was that referrals are the most underrated and reliable way to grow your business. And I think I knew this on some level. I had been in business for 15 years by the time I learned this lesson, because I had a real estate company, then I had my holistic nutrition practice, then I had my business coaching business. And so I've seen many iterations of this, and I've seen this play out a lot for myself. But I needed the reminder that business has worked for thousands of years, long before social media was ever a thing. And the reason that it has worked is because when people get value, they go tell other people about it. This is what word of mouth is. This is what referrals are. Do a really good job serving your people and getting them results, and they will go tell people. And then the new people will come. This is how business has always worked, and it still works. I knew that. Like I said, I knew that because I had a real estate company that was very, very successful, though I had never had a website, never did any dedicated marketing. It was all word of mouth, but that word of mouth was really reliable. So I needed to learn this lesson again in 2021 and 2022 and 3 and 4 and 5 because I need to constantly be thinking about how referrals are everything. Referrals, word of mouth, and good old-fashioned just people telling people what is working for them is always going to work. And I think it actually works better now. I think that we have crested, maybe not crested, but we're definitely at the top of this level of just barrage of marketing and messaging and being sold to all the time. And it's really sophisticated and it works really well, but we're kind of getting numb to it. Like we're just constantly under siege with so much marketing and so much sales that having somebody say, no, I got you. This is who you need. This is what you call them. Here you go. Here's their phone number. Boop, do this. That means so much more, in my opinion, than it even ever has before. It's always worked, but I think it is absolute gold now. So my takeaway there is serve your clients better. That's what I did, kind of unintentionally when I had all of this time that freed up on my calendar, but I saw so quickly how my business was growing. I could see my email list was growing with new people that were finding my website, adding themselves to my email list, finding my website, downloading my free course and adding to my email list. And it was just growing. I'm like, this is so wild because I'm not running ads anymore. I'm not on social media. What's happening? And what was happening is people were spreading the word. We're going to get into that a little bit more about what they were spreading in a second. But the point is The best marketing is solving problems for people so well that they go talk about it. Let's always be optimizing for that as business owners. Let's always be thinking about, instead of chasing the shiny new strategy or new tactic, let's be thinking about, am I loving on my customers? Am I making this simple for them? Am I making it easy for them? Am I making it easy for them to refer me? All questions that are really good to ask. And that became very clear to me after I had much less distraction in my life, personally and professionally, because there was no more scrolling for me. Lesson number 4, after I deleted all my social media, was I started trusting myself again. Now, I don't know that I ever really stopped trusting myself, but I know that not ever picking up this device to scroll ever when I was bored or when I was confused or when I was procrastinating, never doing that during the workday or on my personal time, ever, really let me get clear on my own thoughts. I didn't have the inputs of everybody else's opinions and everybody else's ideas and everybody else's thoughts. And don't get me wrong, I still watch YouTube videos. I still listen to podcasts. I'm not Amish, like where I have no technology in my life. I just really got intentional about what podcasts I was listening to and what YouTube videos I would watch and what things I wanted to actually have inputting into my brain, which means I never watch the news. I don't want, and this has been years and years before I ever deleted social media, but I never watch the news. I don't want somebody telling me what they think I should know about. I definitely don't want to be thinking about horrific tragedies all the time. That I don't think that serves any of us. So news is out for me. News, big air quotes, that's out for me. Social media, obviously out for me. And by doing that, I know that I have been able to grow a much bigger, better business. I also think personally, there's a lot of advantages to that, and I'll get to that in a second. But business-wise, I know that this was so huge because I got clear on what I thought. It was like, what do I think about this? I don't know what everybody else is saying. I literally don't know what everybody else is saying because I'm not tuned into it. What do I think about it? And that was a really fun exercise in trusting myself. Like, do I think that? I think I do. I'm pretty sure I do. Wait, should I check? No, yep, I think that. That's what it felt like. And then I trusted myself more and I trusted myself more and I trust myself more. But I could see I was making better decisions, clearer decisions, faster decisions, and getting bolder about what I wanted to talk about and didn't want to talk about because I stopped getting all the inputs. I think that was a huge part of it. So, yeah, I think the best ideas that I've ever had in my business have come after I stopped consuming what everybody else's good ideas were, and I just wasn't seeing it anymore. I wasn't scrolling Instagram and seeing other business coaches or other colleagues that had this new marketing strategy, that were selling this new offer, that were doing it this way and thinking, oh my gosh, I should do that too. Oh my gosh, I should do that too. Oh my gosh, I should do that too. I never had that anymore. Just was in my own lane, doing my own thing. I felt great about it. Didn't have all of the inputs, and without the distraction and without the constant compare and despair, just really started to trust myself again. And I know that has been a very good idea. I would also offer for you, however that lands, it's a very good idea for you too. So the 5th lesson I learned is that my marketing is more magnetic even when I'm not trying, when I'm just being myself and taking a bold stance and saying the bold thing. And this kind of ties into lesson number 4, but not being so concerned with what other people are thinking or what they're doing or why they're doing it, and really listening to myself and trusting myself made me be able to have more magnetic marketing. It made me say things without even trying, just that were more authentic to me and that were really real. And when I say that, it sounds like before I was saying things that weren't real, and that's not the case, but it was just so much more in the moment and so much more authentic. For example, people were asking me a lot about not being on social media, and they were saying like, oh my gosh, like, how do you even know what's going on? How are people going to find you? I don't think this is going to be good for your business. Had a lot of opinions about that. And I was like, you know what? I think it's actually great for my business. I think it's great for me as a business owner to not be a slave to social media, to not be living this, what I consider to be a very unhealthy lifestyle, which is constantly creating, constantly engaging, constantly getting dinged with DMs and feeling that you have to answer people and be constantly available, and thinking about basically how to be entertaining and professional and an expert and consistent and maintain your relationship with your clients and serve them at a deep level, and also be a mom and also be a wife and also be a friend and also be all the other things in your life. I don't think that is healthy. I don't think that that's the life I want to live. I don't think a lot of wellness professionals want to live that life. They just think, like I did for a long time, that it's just part of the recipe for having a business in this day and age, you just have to be doing that. And that's not true. So I started talking about why I don't think that that is true, and why I don't think it has to be true, and why I don't think that we should be being an example to our children or to other business owners that it is true. Like, I just started talking about not growing my business on social media. Other people leaned in. They said, tell me more. And it wasn't something that I set out to do. It wasn't like I deleted all of my social media and then I was going to launch a campaign about like bringing it to the man and like sticking it to him and we're going to grow this business without social media. It kind of might sound like that in retrospect, but it was never my intention. In fact, I didn't want to talk about the fact that I wasn't on social media anymore. And my reason for that might kind of surprise you. I had so many friends and colleagues that were teaching how to grow a business with social media. And like social media was their secret sauce. It was their thing. It was what they taught. And though that didn't resonate with me and I didn't think that that was necessary, I didn't want to offend people that were close to me. And I didn't want to be really outspoken that like what they were doing was wrong necessarily. So I tempered my own bold feelings and philosophies for longer than I probably should have, to be honest. But when I started talking about it and I dipped my toe in a little bit and I would say something about how I wasn't on social media anymore and how my business was actually growing faster than ever, like, you know, dip a little toe in, the response was wild. And people are like, tell me everything. What do you mean you're not on social media? I don't want to do this either. It makes me want to even quit my business to think that I have to be on social media. Tell me how you're doing it. Is it possible? I just need to know. And I was like, whoa. That landed, struck a chord. People want to hear about it. Okay. So whereas I'm thinking this is kind of outdated, this is kind of antiquated way of doing business and people aren't going to be interested in this, quite the opposite. They're super intrigued. They're super inspired. They're very relieved. They want to hear, tell me more. Tell me that this is possible. So the more I talked about it, the more honest I got about the decisions I had made in my business, the more people showed up and were like, I want that too. Oh my gosh. Can you teach me? Can you teach me? And I realized, okay, this is quite the draw. So now, you know, 4.5 years later, we look at what the Profitable Nutritionist as a brand and as a program is, and it is very intentionally how to grow your business without relying on social media, how to have a business that people talk about, that you get all those referrals, you get the word of mouth. And should you choose to be on social media, that's great if that serves you and you love your reasons for it, but it's not necessary. And so now that seems like, of course, that was the direction you were always headed, but it wasn't at all. In fact, I was really fearful at first about talking about it because I didn't want to step on toes and I didn't want to be a weirdo. And then I was like willing to be a weirdo a little bit and the response was great. And then I was willing to be a little more weird. And people are like, I need all of this. Oh, okay. So this is landing. I'm not the only one that feels really disillusioned with the life of an entrepreneur. If I have to be constantly on my phone and, you know, using my kids to try to make a point about being a business owner that's a mom. It just felt really contrived. It felt really gross. I didn't want any part of it anymore. I was out of that life. And with having a little bit of space from it, I could see how unhealthy I had been operating for years at that point. So I was talking about it more. Point being, my marketing became more magnetic without me even trying, just because I was willing to be honest and talk about this. And I think that applies to everybody, any business owner. Say the thing that you're a little afraid to say, or maybe a lot afraid to say. Test it out and just watch the response. I have seen this play out so many times at this point with my clients where they were willing to do it and they said, oh my gosh, I'm so relieved because other people feel the same way and they actually want me to talk about this more. So yes, you will repel some people, but you will be a magnet for the ones that are your people, capital P people. Big lesson. So lesson number 6 is a tiny email list can build your business. Here's what I mean by that. I quickly realized when I deleted all of my professional social media accounts that I was going to need to market my business in different ways. I already had an email list. It was tiny, and I mean just a few hundred people, but I already had that mechanism in place. I already had that asset in my business. And so as I realized, okay, well, I'm not going to be creating reels and I'm not going to be running ads anymore. How am I going to be consistently marketing my business? I made a list of all of the things that I could do. And one of them was email. Top of the list was email. It was like, okay, well, my email marketing needs to get ratcheted up quite a bit. I need to be more consistent with it. My emails need to be better. I need to really nurture people. And I just decided, okay, everything I would have put in social media that would be content there, I'll just send via email. Like whatever tips I'm sending, whatever stories, whatever takeaways, you know, mindset shifts, all of that stuff that I suppose I normally would have been putting on social media, I just packaged up into emails and was consistently emailing my list, even though it was tiny. And I mean, it was a tiny, tiny list. But I'll give myself a little bit of credit here. I never had drama about the fact that it was a tiny list. I was like, I love my tiny list. Everybody on this list is a real human on the other side of this email that has a problem that I can help them solve. And I'm just going to keep loving on them, and I'm going to keep talking to them, and I'm going to keep communicating with them and helping them solve the problem and staying top of mind with them via email. And that was the asset that I had. So I just went really hard into email marketing. Well, the downstream effect of that years later is I'm really good at writing emails. Okay, because I've written a lot of them. So I'm good at taking the thoughts in my mind and putting them into written copy and sending that in email. And just the consistency of doing that and showing up even when I didn't feel like it, when I didn't know what I was going to say, when I didn't feel like the email was good. Sidebar on that, by the way, the emails that you don't think are great, where you're kind of like, ugh, but this isn't that great. Those seem to be the ones that people reply to and they're like, this is just what I needed today. I'm like, wait, what? What about the one I spent so much time on last week that nobody said a peep about? But that's just kind of the way it goes. So consistently doing that has paid back dividends in my business. I'm so glad that I did that. But also I realized, holy cow, the numbers don't matter. It is the quality of the people that are here and their willingness to invest in the solution and your willingness to continually say, I can help you. I can help you. Here's how I can help you. I can help you. Here's the result when I help you. And constantly talking about that, being top of mind and just being consistent is everything. So tiny email list, but consistently made the email list grow over time. Another thing I did that really helped blow up my business in this era when social media was off the table, still is off the table. I guess I keep saying like this era as if that's changed. That hasn't changed. But I started emailing other people's lists. So when I made this list, I seriously sat down with paper and pen and I was like, how am I going to get clients now? I realized I could add a lot of value to other people's audiences. And so I went hard on that avenue and I really asked myself, where are my ideal clients already congregated in a group? I have a very specific niche of holistic nutrition practitioners. So I was thinking about the National Association of Nutrition Professionals. I was thinking of other nutrition certification programs and very specific niche groups there. And I was like, okay, I could add a lot of value to those organizations by just sending free stuff to their list. How can I do that? So that's what I did. I approached a bunch of organizations. I said, I have a lot to say that I think would be really valuable for your people. Can we do that? We had some arrangements. And so I started sending emails to other people's lists. Some of them I paid for, some of them were free, but I started serving those audiences and people resonated. They came join my email list. They got my weekly emails. They eventually became customers, and then they went and told more people, and the email lists keep growing, and the cycle just very naturally grew and grew and grew. And so my business grew and grew and grew, but I wasn't doing 1 million things. I was like, I want to do a few things and do them really well and keep doing them consistently, and that has served me really well. But I want to say that it's not because I had a huge email list. I haven't made millions of dollars since I deleted social media because I already had a massive database. Quite the opposite. Tiny list of a few hundred people that has now grown into several thousand, but still a very, very small list, and weekly emails consistently. Now, since then, I have launched an audio podcast. I now also create YouTube videos. Those are very recent though. The podcast isn't, but the YouTube video is very, very recent in my business. And the podcast, the audio podcast, that was in 2021. So that was actually pretty recently after deleting all social media. Point is, I started just talking a lot more about the things. I started doing a lot more marketing. It just wasn't on social media anymore. And I chose to create marketing that I could then repurpose. So my emails, I could send more than once. Podcast episodes never disappear. People still find my podcast episodes and are every single month subscribing to the podcast and listening to stuff that I created years ago. Or people find me, they find the podcast and they go start at the beginning and they listen to hundreds of episodes because those things don't go away. Whereas on social media, it does go away. There's a very short shelf life on social media for content that you create there, which is great for Mark Zuckerberg's business. It's great for TikTok. It's not great for your business. I feel so strongly about that. And so that's why I wanted to record this video and give my takeaways about what I have learned since growing a business without social media very successfully. And I want to make a caveat here before I move on to the 7th lesson that I learned. I wanted to talk about the 2 different types of social media posts, okay? So there's social media marketing or a business owner. I'm imagining a holistic nutritionist watching this that's like, okay, well, I have social media and I post on there sometimes and I do get people that are interested in what I do. So I don't want to not use social media. That is a very different business model than trying to go viral on social media and attract a massive audience and get new viewers and followers and DMs and people and using hashtags to like expand your reach to all of the humans on the world and have a huge audience is different than telling my friends and family what I do and that my business is open for business and that I would love to help any referrals that they want to send my way. Those are two very different things, okay? And there's a lot of gray in the middle there, so I also just want to touch on that I have a lot of my clients in the Profitable Nutritionist program that use social media, and the way that they use it is they're letting their warm market around them, their friends and their family and their acquaintances and their people that they're doing life with, they're letting them know, hey, my business is open. Like we turn the open sign on. We're like, open sign is on, letting the people know I'm open for business. Here's who I help and here's how I help them. And then doing, some content now and again that reminds people what you do and keeps those fires burning. Very different than need to post 8 posts per week of this specific format in this very specific way to try to grow enough eyeballs so that a tiny percentage of them may possibly come onto my email list and then a tiny percentage of those may possibly buy in the future. That is exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. I just can't imagine a world where a business owner could make that a success health-wise for them in their life. I just can't. Even at this point where my business is at now, where I could be active on social media again, but never actually me log into social media. I have a robust team. I have so much content that I've created already that could be repurposed from my emails and the copy on there and YouTube videos and podcast episodes. I have so much that I have done that could get packaged up into years worth of social media content. And I have people on my team that could even do that. I would never even have to touch it. And I could do that. But I still, just because of my own principles, don't want to do that. Maybe that'll change someday. But for now, I have no interest in doing that because it still would occupy space in my brain. It still would, even if it wasn't me doing it, it still would on some level be me managing it or thinking about it or being consulted about it. There would be enough of it. I'm like, I just don't want that. I love my life where I'm never on social media, ever. I'm never like taking hours out of my day lost in a scroll on meaningless anything. That sounds a little judgmental. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just saying that on the other side of it, 4.5 years later, to never just pick up my phone and just do this, yep, and not really be present in my life, since I don't do that, I don't want to do that. And I really don't want a business that depends on it. Like I said, maybe I'll change my tune on that at some point, but I think it's important to just touch on the fact that businesses that are really active on social media and have a big organic presence probably do have a team behind them. It really, I just don't think is realistic for a solopreneur to be juggling all of those balls up in the air and think that that's the recipe for success. It's really a recipe for burnout and for you being exhausted and resenting your business, in my opinion. My 7th lesson learned after deleting all social media and quitting it for the last 4.5 years is this: social media does not make you legit. I was afraid of this. People have said this to me. A lot of people have said this to me. My clients have said this to me. Other just well-meaning entrepreneur friends have said this to me. They're like, oh, but I mean, won't people try to find you on Instagram and then they can't find you and they don't think you're legit? I'm like, hasn't been a problem. It really hasn't been a problem. But that's because I am still on the internet. I mean, I don't think, even as I say that, I'm like, oh, I got to make the caveat. You don't have to be online to be a legit business either. I have very successful clients that don't even have a website. They don't have social media, and they're helping all of the people and making all the money. So that is not a prerequisite either. Remember, business has existed long before social media and websites and the World Wide Web. But I do actually have some components of this that make me a pretty legit online business, like a really professional website, an email list, a podcast, other things other than me just chugging along making content for social media that disappears in 24 hours. I just can't think of a worse thing to be doing. And I actually think that makes you less legit. I truly do, because when I'm looking at someone as a business owner that is just trying to juggle all those balls and trying to keep it all up in the air and do all of the things, I'm like, man, when do you have time to be really serving your clients? When do you have time to be really working on your business and not in your business, because I just don't know how you can do both. So all that to say, I think that social media doesn't make you legit. I actually think it's super legit not to be creating subpar, or maybe not subpar. Do I even want to say subpar? I think it is kind of subpar. I think for most people that don't do content creation as their vocation, I think that their content probably is subpar a lot of times. And I think it's getting really hard to compete, because people that are good at making social media content are so good that being mediocre probably doesn't even serve you anyway. And when we think about the way that social media algorithms work and the fact that only a tiny percentage of your followers even see the content that you put out, I'm just mind blown at the smoke screen of like, yep, keep doing that. Keep growing your business with this content. It's like, but so few people see that how could that be a good use of time? Why couldn't we just take that same amount of time and create that really good content and run it as ads and put some money behind it? Because these social media platforms are pay to play these days. Let's just be real. Creating organic content that you spend hours and hours and hours making is going to be seen by the tiniest proportion of people. And why do that? Why not just spend that time, make really good ads, and then put some money behind it and actually be guaranteed that the right people are going to see the right thing and get results from it? The same amount of time with a little money behind it could get way better results, and in my opinion would get way better results. So I think that that's legit. I think that using your resources of time and money and energy and bandwidth and brain power and creative genius and all of that to put something together that is going to be sustainable and evergreen. And when I say that, I mean like it's going to consistently produce results. It's not just going to fizzle out after 24 hours and disappear and you got to create more. That is a much more legit business owner mindset and use of time. So I realized that I talked mostly business in these 7 lessons, and that's because a lot of the lessons learned have been business lessons. But I just want to say, on a personal level and on a personal front, I feel so much more at peace to not have social media in my life as just a human on this earth. It feels great. Of course, there are a lot of things that I miss, and we just joke about it. My friends and family always joke about it. They're like, Andrea has no idea what we're talking about. And I'm like, I don't. And it's so great. I don't. Because if something big happens, someone will tell me. If there's something going on I need to know about, somebody is going to tell me. But I don't need to be, I feel like I'm very at peace with not being plugged in with everybody's gripe and everybody's photo and all of that. I don't know. Just want to say on a personal level, it feels pretty good. So a little bonus lesson here is that if this is speaking to you in any way, you certainly don't have to burn all of the boats like I did and nuclear destruct all of your personal, professional social media. I mean, maybe you do, and like that feels amazing, and you definitely need to comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below this video, and I would love to hear what you think about this, by the way. Like, regardless of what end you're on, are you on social media? Are you not? Do you want to be on less? Do you want to be on more, growing your business there? I just want to hear about it. So if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely comment. Tell me where this is landing for you. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, I for sure would love you to come to YouTube and comment, because I want to hear how this is landing for you. But I think that you could do this a little bit gentler way. So I wanted to give this little bonus lesson that you could do a social media fast. If this is speaking to you and you're thinking, okay, that could be useful. I want to see what my business feels like without the pressure of social media. I want to feel what my personal life feels like without the pressure of it. Just try it fast. But here's the deal with doing a social media fast. You have to actually delete the app off of your phone. So here's the deal. You could decide one day a week, you delete it, and then you can reinstall or like re-download it the next day. You have to actually take it off, okay? Don't do like the workarounds of I know there's workarounds. Don't do that. Actually, just delete it. Do it for a weekend. Do it every weekend. Do it every Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know, but just try it, and then I have to hear how this goes for you. Obviously, you're going to have the autopilot like reflex to just do this, but then there's not going to be that app there, and you're going to realize how often you do that and get an idea and an awareness of how much time and space that is taking from you. So know that and just honor it. And also it will become less, and you will get more creative, and you will feel so much peace and probably so much just creativity burst, which I'm super excited about for you. I can't finish this video without telling you that if this lands and you're like, yes, I do actually want to grow a business without burning out. I want to grow a business without being on that content hamster wheel. I don't want to be glued to my phone all the time. I don't want to sacrifice my health in the process of growing my wellness business. you are in the right place. Please take my free course. It is linked up in the description, either of the YouTube video or the podcast episode. It's called the Profitable Practice Philosophies course, okay? And inside there, I'm going to show you exactly what to focus on instead of social media so that you can sign more clients, make more money, get all the referrals, and really feel amazing and purposeful and peaceful while you're doing it. So click the link. I will meet you inside the free course, my friend.